sine of theta is negative radical 3 over 2. Okay, so this is backwards. Yesterday I would tell you sine of 120 degrees and you evaluated it. Now I'm telling you, when I did sine, I got negative radical 3 over 2. You tell me what the angle was. Now keep in mind, I said it could be anywhere between 0 and 360. In which of those quadrants would sine be a negative number? 3 and 4. So I'm going to have two answers, because it's negative twice. Okay, let's get our reference angle. I want to know when sine is radical 3 over 2. So like sine of 0 is 0, sine of 60 is radical 3 over 2. So my reference angle is 60 degrees. Okay. So in quadrant 3, if this angle is 60, what would the whole thing be? You'd have to be 180 plus 60. So that's 240 degrees. In quadrant 4, if this is 60, what would this be? 300. Do 360 minus 60. So those are my two answers. We just had to work backwards to find out when is it possible for sine to be a negative radical 3 over 2. And give both answers for that. Is that piece okay? Do you want me to go ahead and do 2.3 right now? Get it all done and then you can work on homework after that? Okay. So let's talk about 2.3. Everybody needs a calculator for this. So our common functions, we have our hand trick for. Everything else, it still has a value, it's just not nice. Like if I want the sine of 21 degrees. It has a value, but not one that we are going to memorize. So we have to be able to use our calculators for those. Couple things that I want to caution you on. First, your calculator has two different modes. There is a degree mode and a radian mode. We will not learn radians until the next chapter. So right now, our calculator needs to be in degree mode. So if you hit your mode button, it's right up by the second if you have one of mine. And the third thing down, it has radian degree. You need to hit degree, and then you can quit and get it in degree mode. If you raise your hand if you have a different calculator. Yeah.
What is it on this one?
Anyone else need to look at their calculator? Check that every time you pick up one of my calculators, because they get switched. You know, if I'm doing something in calculus, they may need it in radian mode. So it will get changed. Don't pick up the calculator and assume it's in the right mode, because you will get every single answer wrong if you're in the wrong mode. Second thing I want to tell you, there are sine, cosine, and tangent buttons on this calculator. Above those in blue, you see sine -1, cosine -1, tangent -1. That does not give you the reciprocal. Sine, and those are actually inverses, and they give you an angle. So if you want like cosecant, you need to type in 1 divided by sine. Do not use those inverse buttons. Okay. So let's just practice putting in a few things and making sure that we can all get the same answer. I could give you something in degrees and minutes, and there is a way to do degrees and minutes on your calculator, but it's probably just faster to put it in like this. I want you to push the tangent button. Every time you do that, it automatically opens a parenthesis for you. And so if I have 68 degrees, 43 minutes, I'm going to do 68. How do we change minutes into seconds, or minutes into decimal? So I'm going to type in 68 plus 43 divided by 60, and just close my parentheses. And you can put it all in at once that way, and get your final answer. So what'd you guys get?
5, 6, 7, 0, 7, 5, 2 and 4.
Okay, I'll go 4 decimal places. Rounding if appropriate. If you are not getting any of these, raise your hand so we can figure it out. Okay, B. Cosine of 193.662. So we can just type that in as is. Hit cosine 193.622. Close your parentheses. What do you get? Negative 0.97187, so 179. Let's talk about, if I don't give you one of our functions on the calculator, so if I ask for cosecant, you are just going to type in 1 divided by cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. What do we get? .7076. Secant of negative 287, how would I type that in? 1 divided by cosine negative 287. You could change it, add 360 and get a coterminal, but you don't have to. Your calculator can do the negatives. Any issues with any of those? Last 2. This is different. Kind of like that example I did from yesterday's problems where I told you that sine was equal to negative radical 3/2 and we had to find the answer. Now here I have kind of given you some information. I said that theta was between 0 and 90. So what quadrant is it in? The first quadrant. So I don't have to give multiple answers here. There's only one. I just want the angle in the first quadrant. When you want an angle, that is the time that you use those inverse buttons. So in other words, if I were trying to solve this for theta, I would need to get rid of my cosine. You can't just divide the cosine over because they're not multiplied, it's a function. So the only way to remove that cosine is to do the cosine inverse. So what you need to remember now is if you want an angle, that's when you do the inverses. So to type it in, you'll do second and then your cosine button. That gives you that cosine to the negative 1. And this gives me my angle, which is what? 22.8, and then 9's repeating, so 22.9. And since it's an angle, we put degrees on that.
How did you type it in?
You do second. Okay, the only tricky part on this is the problem like B. If we want an angle, we have to do an inverse. Is there a cotangent inverse button on your calculator? No. So before I do anything, I have to rewrite this in terms of a button that I do have on my calculator. So the very first step, I have cotangent. My calculator has tangent. So if I know cotangent, how would I get tangent? 1 over this. You have to do this first. If you try to do it later, it will give you the wrong answer. So now we are going to do tangent inverse of 1 over the 1.44. And what do we get for our angle? .6543 degrees. Any questions? That's the end of this section. That's all we need to cover. So, let's kind of summarize. The 2.2 assignment is due tomorrow. We have a 2.1 to 2.3 quiz tomorrow. I will probably do a couple review problems at the beginning of class. This one, I have a feeling you're probably going to get it done in class, but just in case, I will make this one due on Tuesday, just to give you that little